Have you ever stared at a blank screen wondering what to design for your Etsy shop? Yep, me too. That used to be me until I figured out a very simple system to go from blank page to bestseller. I'm Emily, a six-figure Etsy seller who helps beginners launch and grow their Etsy shop without any design experience or business experience. And in this video, I'm walking you through my process, research, design, and listing to publish your next bestseller in your print-on-demand shop. As a coach, one of the things I see most with new sellers that stops them and holds them back from making progress in their Etsy shop is they don't know what to sell. Or they think that they need to be an expert graphic designer or marketer to make sales in their Etsy shop. But the great news is that you don't have to have that experience. I came into this with zero design experience and zero business experience, and it's all about finding simple strategies that work. And today, I'm going to show you how to keep it super simple using one research tool and one design tool. And we are going to go from nothing to a published Etsy listing by the end of this video. And you will leave this video knowing exactly how to do it step by step. Don't forget to hit the like or subscribe button if you're interested in seeing more print-on-demand content and how to start, grow, and launch your Etsy print-on-demand shop. So first, we have to start with a focus for our product. You can call it a niche, you can call it a customer type, whatever you want to say. But the key to standing out on Etsy as a new shop is to get specific. And often I hear pushback from new sellers that say, well, am I limiting my audience if I get super specific with my product? And the answer is actually opposite of what you might think. The answer is you'll actually stand out more the more specific you are. And so for today's video, we are going to be focusing on the nurse niche. And nurse products in general sell like hotcakes on Etsy. And today we're going to be focusing on a gift product because you all know I love selling gifts on Etsy. And we're going to be focusing on a gift for a nurse. And we're going to walk through how to get more specific. Now, I want to remind you, you do not have to pick a niche for your entire shop, especially when you're starting and you don't even know what works yet. But you do want to get specific with your product. So today we're going to be walking through how to take the nurse idea, the nurse niche, the nurse customer, and the gift idea and getting more specific. So the first thing we need to do is market research. Pro tip, never open Canva or your favorite design tool until you have done your market research. And we are going to be looking for three very specific things. The first question is there demand? Meaning, are people buying in this idea that you have for this niche, for this occasion? Number two, is there competition? So competition is okay. Having competition means that there is demand. So we don't want to avoid all competition. However, we do want to make sure we understand how are new shops standing out in this niche or with this product type. And number three, we want to understand what design styles are working, what kind of tone for the product is working for this specific customer. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, we are going to keep things super simple. And so we are going to just use one research tool and one design tool to get this product listed. So we're going to head over to Etsy and we're going to be using my favorite research tool called EverBee to help us answer those three questions that we just talked about. Okay, so when we're starting our research process, my favorite thing to do is just to start in Etsy with a very simple search. Now, we are going to be today designing one of my favorite products, the Lumient Soy Wax Candle. So for this search, I am starting with Nurse Candle. And I just want to get an idea of, again, are people buying this? How are new shops standing out in this space? And number three, what kind of design style are they using? So first, let's answer the first question. Are there bestseller badges? Are we seeing popular now badges? And immediately from this general search for nurse candles, I can instantly see that there are a lot of these popping up. So we can see popular now, bestseller, popular now. As we scroll down, we could see there are multiple candles on here that are nurse related and they are selling. And that is going to be a great indication that this type of product has a lot of potential. Now, number two that we need to figure out is there space for a new shop like yours, or in this case, my shop, to stand out by selling this? Or is it mostly being dominated by older shops that have a ton of sales and maybe they've kind of monopolized the market, or there's just so much competition that we really don't have an in? If this is where we're going to be using my favorite tool, EverBee, and we are going to use the extension that you can simply download. You add it to your browser, and over here on this search page, we are going to click on Product Analytics. Now, this tool is my absolute favorite, and this is the primary way that I use EverBee for my product research. And the reason I love this is that as a busy mom, my window to work on my Etsy shop can be very limited. So whatever I can do to speed up the process to make it more efficient, I am going to take it. And this is a great example of that, because what this tool does is it's going to break down the sales for each of these products on that search page. It's going to tell us more information about that shop. It's going to tell us how much they're making every month from that product, how many reviews. And this is all data that we need to be successful in our Etsy shop. Now, the word data can often scare people away, but I just want to reassure you, all data is just more information to help guide you in your design process. And I think of data kind of as like my compass. So when I have data that I've gotten through market research, it very easily points me in the direction that I need to be going. And you really can't beat that, because often, as I said, most of us are like, what do I even sell in my Etsy shop? And having a compass like this is going to be huge for pointing you in the right direction for your designs and your products. So we have here this chart, as I said, and what's great is you can sort it by a lot of different factors. So the first way I like to sort it is through monthly sales. And when I see the monthly sales, I can see that this nurse candle is selling 166 times per month. Now, we are in the summer, we are coming off graduation season. However, nurse products do sell year round. So this one has been selling 166 times per month, which again validates for question number 1 that there is demand. So we can check that one off. So for the second question, we are trying to figure out which shops are somewhat newer and are making sales in this space. So EverBee has this great option on this chart to look at shop age. So I'm going to scroll over here, and I'm going to see that there are shops here. You can see this one's 92 months, 57 months old. But what's interesting to me are any of these shops that are, this one is 10 months old. This one down here is 14 months old. So these are relatively newer shops that are making sales. So this one is a funny nurse candle. It says smells like the opposite of a hospital. And this is exactly what we are going to be looking for when we are trying to figure out also our design. But this is great news for us because a newer shop in this space is making sales. They're making, on average, based on EverBee's data, they're making about 34 sales per month, which as a new shop, that is amazing. So this is a great indication that there is space for us at the table. All right, so we are going to head back to our search page. And what I'm also interested is answering question number 3, which, if you remember, is what design styles, what kind of tone seems to be selling well. So the first thing that I'm noticing is that the nurse candles that seem to be selling well have a more humorous tone to them. So smells like the opposite of a hospital, the calming scent of finally graduating nursing school, look at you becoming a nurse, and so there's curse words, there's like funny inside humor, there's just different approaches like that. The other thing that I'm seeing design-wise is very neutral designs, black and white. We have a little bit of color, but for the most part, all of these designs tend to be pretty straightforward, and it's more about the text, which, as you recall, for someone like me and maybe like you, without graphic design experience, something like this is a great opportunity because we don't have to design something super trendy, something that is super colorful or complex with our design, but something more straightforward with just words. So we have answered all 3 of our questions here. Number 1, is there demand? Check. Yes. Number 2, are there new shops making sales in this space? Yes. And number 3, what kind of designs are really working in this space? So we discovered more neutral designs with black and white, also more humorous designs. So let's go over and let's start getting our design ready. All right, so before we hop in to Canva, I want to show you real quick how to figure out what design size to even use. So we're here on Printify. We've got the scented soy candle, which is what we are going to be focused on selling. And I want to show you that you can scroll down here and you can hit the Start Designing button. And over here on this side of the screen with Printify, they are going to show you the print area size. So we can see here that for this candle, it's going to be 900 by 600 pixels. So this is going to be the size that we're going to take over into Canva and create our design. All right, let's pause real quick for this week's coffee and cha-chings. This week's question is, how many product types should you have in your Etsy shop? And this is a question I get often from my print-on-demand students. So here's what I recommend for someone who's starting their brand new print-on-demand shop or someone who has an existing POD shop, but they haven't quite made the sales that they're looking for. And my recommendation is to keep it simple, which is start with one product type. Maybe two if you have some experience, but start with one product type and start with one overarching niche. And the reason that is that it's going to give you the chance to really focus. And with that focus, you will become an expert in creating designs for that product, for researching for that product, and listing that product. Each different print-on-demand product has just different unique things about it. And so when you're looking at mock-ups or you're looking at how to design or you're looking at how to research, it's going to vary based on each product. And so I highly recommend starting with one general niche to truly focus and get your teeth into. And that way you can become an expert in that area. And when you get to the point where you've gotten to a good place or you're starting to make those sales, then you can start to add on to that. But there's no need to try to sell everything under the sun because you will be listing a lot of different things, but not really being an expert at anything. And so that's my recommendation if you're trying to figure out how many different products to sell in your Etsy shop. Thanks for joining this week's Coffee and Cha-Ching. As always, please feel free to drop your questions below in the comments, and I can't wait to answer them in the upcoming videos. So we're over here in Canva getting ready to design based on what we found on Etsy. And we are first going to create our custom size. So we're going to come over here, custom size, and we are going to input that size that Printify told us, which was 900 by 600 pixels. And we are going to go ahead and create a new design. Now, this is going to bring us to a blank design here. And this is where we're going to be doing our funny nurse candle that we are going to sell. Now, as a reminder, a lot of the designs were very neutral. They had humorous words on them and very minimal graphics. And so we are going to take that as inspiration. So personally, I am not a nurse. So because of that, I am going to need a little bit of help figuring out some phrases that I can use for my candle. Okay, so we are headed over here to ChatGPT. ChatGPT is my bestie for coming up with product ideas, phrases, quotes, things like that. And so I've given ChatGPT a super simple prompt. It says, I'm creating a candle for a nurse. I want the tone to be funny, and I want it to be specifically for an emergency room nurse. Now, as you recall, the key to standing out on Etsy as a new seller is niching down. So this is a great example of that. I'm going to try to get more specific with this candle so that I can find a way to stand out. Now, I said one example that is selling well says, smells like the opposite of a hospital. Can you help me come up with funny phrase options for this candle? So Chat, my bestie, said, yes, here are some funny candle phrases just for emergency room nurses. And it gave me a whole bunch. Now, I love some of these. So smells like no one's bleeding. Smells like your shift got canceled. Smells like the doctor answered the page. Smells like no one hit the call button. Smells like the waiting room is empty. I am loving all of these. Now, you could test a whole bunch of these. So we are going to take one of these over back into Canva, and we're going to create our super simple Canva candle design. All right, so we are back over here in Canva, and I want to make this design a little bit different than what is out there. So I think I'm going to go with a darker background. So we're going to start with a black background, and I'm going to make the text a white color for now. And the first thing I want to do is figure out the fonts that I would like to use for this. So I'm actually going to take out the smells like and see if I can make this bigger. I want to make sure that the quote that is on here really is visible because Etsy sellers are scrolling by so fast. So you want to make sure this is very visible to them. And so I'm going to kind of remove some of the spacing here. All right, so we are going to speed this up a little bit and I'm going to show you how I designed this, and we are going to see you at the end after I have my design done. All right, we have a candle label here that I am super excited about. So we decided to go with "Smells like the waiting room is empty." And then I added a little bit of a subtext to it that says, "Infused with the calming scent of no patience to triage." Sometimes adding this little subtitle really goes a long way because it just makes it that much more relatable to customers. And then I added this soy wax 40 hours down here to make it look like a real candle label. And then I decided to add a stethoscope here just to give it a little bit of that personalization to being a nurse. Now, I am super excited about this because we could use this template for a lot of different niches within the nurse niche. So a lot of those micro niches, and we could then repeat this label for those. So we are going to go ahead and add it to our Printify product. All right, so we are over here in Printify, and I have now uploaded this design to the candle label, and I want to preview it just to make sure that I can really read it and that it really stands out. So when people are scrolling on Etsy, they can see it. And I am really loving this design. Smells like the waiting room is empty. It hits on that humor. It's simple. It has that kind of black and white design. It still screams nurse. And then we added that subtext, which I think is going to go a long way with emergency room nurses or even other nurses for that matter. We are going to save this product and we are going to work on our title and tags to kind of wrap up this video. So we have gone from researching to designing to creating our listing, and then we will be publishing that over to Etsy. So we are back on our EverBee research screen. And as you're doing research, one of the things I recommend is writing down keywords that you're coming across that listings are using. And so what I want to do is look at some of these listings that we saw here and get some ideas kind of what keywords they're using. So we have here this nursing school graduation gift. I want to start with the one that we talked about, which is this funny nurse gift. So I'm going to click on it. And what I love about EverBee is that it's going to give you their title here. And then if you scroll down, you'll also be able to see their tags as well. And EverBee does give a score for tags, but we want to be able to see kind of what tags are trending that we're seeing across different listings. So this one, we can see nurse candle, nursing school grad, congrats gift, funny doctor gift, things like that, because ours technically could be for an emergency room doctor as well, which would be a great thing for us to incorporate. I'm going to look at one of these other listings here, and this is another funny one as well. And I am going to look at their tags, and they have some different ones. They have nurse essentials, nurse grad school, ICU nurse, nursing school gift. So I'm going to be writing all of these down, and that's going to help me compile my title and my tags. The other thing I want to do is, because my gift is going to be specifically geared towards emergency room nurses and maybe doctors, I also wanted to look up emergency room nurse, and I wanted to see what kinds of keywords those products are using that are selling well. So we can see here, again, there's bestsellers popular now for different t-shirts. And even though we're not selling t-shirts, we can gain inspiration from their titles and tags to see what seems to be working for these Etsy sellers. So I'm also going to do product analytics here. And I'm going to sort by the monthly sales as well. And I want to see what some of these products are using. So they're using emergency department, ER nurse. Let's see what else they are. They have emergency room, sure, emergency department, emergency nurse. So these are all keywords that I want to be writing down, and we are going to take these over into Printify and we are going to build out our title and tags. I never recommend copying someone's title and tags. The best thing you can do is research and collect keywords and ideas from across the board and then be able to use those in your listing. Now for my tags, all I'm going to simply do is break up these words into various tags. And then from here, we are going to be pushing this over into our Etsy shop where we can then list it. And the best part is when we make a sale on this product, Printify is going to do all the hard work for us of printing, packaging, and shipping it for us. All right, so that's it. We went from blank page to potential bestseller without second guessing ourselves and without the stress. Really just using simple tools that are here at our fingertips to be able to figure out what is in demand on Etsy, how much competition is there, and can a new shop make sales in that space? And number 3, what design styles are really working well in this space? And we took the information from all 3 of those questions to be able to put together a design for emergency room nurses or doctors to then put on a candle that can be gifted to any nurse or doctor out there. And what works really great about this strategy is that you're connecting with people with words, and that can go a long way without having to worry about trends or design styles or anything like that. So now that you know how to design one of my favorite products out there, I would love to hear in the comments what you're going to be designing for your Etsy shop. And as always, if today's video was helpful for you, please click the subscribe button or the like button. And I would love to see you back here for another video next week where we're going to walk through more strategies to help you grow, launch, and scale your Etsy print-on-demand shop. I'm Emily. I'll see you next week for another coffee chat.